today I'm going to go over a little bit of how we lead a Zoom prayer time. Leading a Zoom prayer time actually isn't that different than leading an in-person prayer time, in the sense that if we're leading a prayer time, we have something that we're planning to pray about. If we actually have something specific in that, we have kind of the topic and the points that we want to pray into. If we want to share some scripture, we've got that prepared, or if we have a song that we want to sing for worship. And with Zoom, it's the same, except that we're not in the same place and we're meeting as not in a room, but in a Zoom room. And so I'm just going to show you some of the ways that we go about that. The first one being worship. A lot of times it's very helpful just to start off with worship, because people are coming from work or starting their day, or it's in the middle of their day, and it can be just something that's a centering thing, kind of like coming to church or coming to the place where you meet to pray. Worship can help us enter into God's presence. And so one of the easiest ways to do that is to just find a worship song on YouTube. Finding one with lyrics in it can be really helpful for people to sing along or to follow along. And then either we can share screens with everybody and worship together that way. It's helpful to ask everyone to keep muted, because otherwise it doesn't work the same as if you're sitting in a room. And so people can kind of worship individually. Or if we don't have good enough bandwidth, we can also just put the YouTube link in and then ask everyone to play the link. And when it's finished, give 20 or 30 seconds just so that everyone else can finish, in case they took some time to buffer or saw an ad or something. Another thing that I'll try and have handy a lot of times is a Bible website. If I'm going to be sharing scripture, it could be nice just to copy and paste either the reference or part or the whole passage into the chat box so that people can follow along. Especially if we're going to be praying through the scripture, it can be really nice to just have it in the chat box. And so I'll just open it on something like Bible Gateway, and then I can just copy it and paste it, and then everyone can see it also. And then the third tool that I use, or the third thing that I'll normally have open, is Notepad or a Word document, something where I can kind of keep text, whether that could be the scripture passage, or in this case, like I made an order for this group, and I just put it here so that if somebody leaves, or if we need to change something up, or I was pasting other things, and because the chat box can get pretty full, it's helpful to bring the order back in. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the order of prayer, you can go look at our video on how to start a Zoom meeting, and we explain just how beneficial an order can be when you're praying and not seeing each other. As far as like the meeting goes itself, like being at the end of the order can be helpful. So then I would just introduce a new topic. Like, so if we're praying for point A, once we go through the order, then I would pray, then I'd introduce point B, and then we'd go and pray through that. Timing can be something that we just need to be aware of, because with the more people, the less topics we can pray through. If there's less people, sometimes we can pray through one topic multiple times. And especially towards the end of a meeting, when your time is getting up, like, it is important to remember that even though we're sitting in our homes or we're online, that it's helpful for people to have a set time. And so towards the end of the meeting, it could mean that we, instead of going through the whole order, we can ask just a couple people to pray. Like, something that I'll do is just say, hey, if you want to pray about this last thing, put your name in the chat box. Or I will say, let's go through the whole order, but we got to keep our prayers to 30 seconds. So that's some of the things that we do in leading a prayer meeting on Zoom. The main thing being is just to be vocal, be willing to speak up if somebody hasn't unmuted, and help facilitate and make things smooth. If you'd like to learn more about leading Zoom prayer times, check the description and we're going to post a link to a document that we've written that has more tips and ideas for leading Zoom prayer.